Hey there, hi there, oh there, folks. Back here for another episode of the Bases Loaded podcast, brought to you by the Idiots Podcast Network. Now, this is episode number 4, Quattro. So, we're going to be getting into the first baseman. We're finally getting some really fun positions here. You know, we're done with catches. We're done with all the pitchers here. So, we're moving on to the guys who really hit the hell out of the ball, and I'm excited for it. So, you know, you're not going to waste any time right now. We're talking about guys from both leagues, you know, best 5. That's what we got. So, we'll get right into it. Adam, who's at your number 5?
My number 5, solid player, think he's going to have a great season this next season, is Matt Olson of the Atlanta Braves. He had on the A's, an incredible player, power smashing ball. He hits the ball farther than most people I've ever seen. And he has a down year in his first year at Atlanta. And that's okay. I think the transition from West Coast to East Coast to a much better team, a much better division, it shakes you up a little bit. But I think what last year has shown is he still has the power, he still has the bat discipline, and I think next year he's about to pop off and again be a top 5, easily top 5 first baseman. You know, we forget about it in 2021 when he had close to 40 home runs. And really was up there as an MVP candidate. And I think this next year he's going to do the same. I think he's going to be mashing home runs, hitting a much better average, and being a much better player.
No, I like that. I mean, Matt Olson, he's a left-handed, you know, crusher. He hits the hell out of the ball, and someone that, you know, as a Met fan, I'm a little worried about, you know, if he has a much better season coming into this year. So my number 5 is Freddie Freeman of the Dodgers.
Wow.
I like Freddie Freeman. I think he's a high-quality player. He's been a high-quality player every year he's ever played baseball. You know, he's been a guy who I've had to hate because he's been on Atlanta, but now that he's on the Dodgers, I can actually enjoy his play. I can really enjoy him as a player. He's a guy who's going to, no matter what, he's going to hit at that 300 mark. He's going to end up hitting you damn near 100 RBIs. You know, he's a really quality player. And over the last 2 years, we've seen him have over 115 runs in the last 2 years. And that's something that's unbelievably phenomenal. I mean, he's an Iron Man out there. He plays almost every single game. He doesn't miss much. He hits a hell of a lot of doubles. I mean, look, Freddie Freeman, he's a hits machine. He's a guy I really like, a guy I know that the Dodgers are going to have to heavily rely on this year with the loss of a guy like Trey Turner. They're going to need him to be Freddie Freeman. And honestly, I'd be happy if the fact that they had this player if I was a Dodgers fan, because, you know, I know I can rely on Freddie Freeman to be a solid bat through and through and play all 162 games. So that's all I got to say. Freddie Freeman, signed in the movie, done. He's easy number 5. I ain't worried about Freddie Freeman. You draft him in your fantasy league, you put him at first base, you never worry about first base ever again. Done.
I love that man. He's a great player.
That's what I mean. So, Adam, we're walking on down the road to number 4, and your number 4 is?
My number 4 is Vlad Guerrero Jr. His 2021 campaign, incredible, something you won't see from any other player often. Unbelievable when you look at those stats, 48 home runs.
That was almost a Triple Crown year, correct?
Yes, 311 average. It was something you don't see often. It was incredible. But the year before that and then the year after that, still a great player, still batting in the 275 range, 30-plus home runs, almost 100 RBIs. But that one 2021 campaign is the only time he hit more than 100 RBIs. I love Vlad. Everything is there for him. He is a great bat, will always hit for power, incredible. Everybody talks about him. You love him. The only thing I'd like to see more is a little more consistency. Not even that. I don't expect him to hit 48 home runs and bat 300 every single year, but a year of 2021 compared to 2022 is drastically different, and I want to see a little more consistency from that, but he is still an amazing player.
It's very interesting to say that. I mean, I wouldn't argue that obviously there's some baked-in regression. We saw the Toronto Blue Jays just kind of, you know, step down as an entire team a little bit last year, but I think, you know, for a guy so young entering his year 24 season, we could see a lot coming out from Vladdy. It's something that'd be very interesting to see. So, I'm actually going to move on to my number 4. My number 4 is actually Jose Abreu of the Houston Astros. You know, we saw him switch over down from, you know, all the way up from Chicago down to Houston. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that, you know, as I like to say, this is a guy. This is a guy who's gonna do pretty freaking good for this team, man. I'm very excited for Jose Abreu. He's really a big bat. Obviously, he took a little bit of a down year last year, but he was able to hit 300. He just didn't hit, as many home runs or as many RBIs, but still an extremely efficient player. This is a guy that on a team like Houston, such a loaded roster.
Yeah.
Dude, they're going to be setting the table for him, and you know what? He's going to be cleaning it up every freaking time, man. He's going to be one of them hungry hippos. He's going to snatch all those balls up, I swear to God. He's going to be great. I plan on watching him have easily over 100 RBIs, damn near 100 runs, and definitely somewhere in the vicinity of that 20 to 25 home run range. Now, will I think he'll bat, the season of 300? It's possible. This is a guy who's batted a career 292.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very possible. I like his OPS at a 680 clip for his career. I'm sorry, at an 860 clip for his career. His slugging is in the 500s. I like this guy. I think that Jose Abreu is really going to be a special piece on this revamped Houston Astros team. I think he's going to help them, end up winning their division again.
Yep.
So
easily.
Enough said about him.
He was easily my number 6, an honorable mention that I wanted to put on this list. Great player. People forget he has an MVP too. I've always enjoyed his game.
Well, he has the vid MVP, so it's a little confusing. The vid MVP is a little weird. You got to put an asterisk next to it. Only 60 games, but hey,
still a great.
He got it done.
Still a great player.
Yup.
My number 3, as we move down. My number 3 is somebody like Vlad, but what I say is more consistent, and that is Pete Alonso. Somebody who has, over the years, as you look at his stats, have extremely upgraded his hitting every single year, from batting to 231 to then 262 to then 271. Every year just keeps getting better and better and better. And the home runs, oh my God, they are still there. After his rookie campaign of 53 home runs, he was still able to hit 37 in 2021, and now eclipsed that 40 mark in 2022 with 131 RBIs. He has been more of a consistent bat at the third baseman position, and I'd argue is just becoming a much better player every single year that he plays. If you watch, his bat discipline is there. Everything is there for him. A player that you could get excited for. Everybody does. I like Pete. His antics in the home run derby can get a little interesting, but
a little weird, I think you mean.
But that's him, and he's a great player, great man. My number 3 pick.
No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. My number 3 pick is actually someone we've already talked about, and that'd be Vladdy. I really like Vlad Guerrero Jr. I think he's a very, very good player. Age 24 season he's going to be going into, has a Silver Slugger, has a Gold Glove. He's a guy who's been around the yard a little bit. He's accomplished. He's gotten things done. I really like where things are heading for Vladdy and this Toronto team. I could see a nice little step up next year. I think him and my number 2 spot are going to be very, very close going into this next year, stat-wise, going into this talk about who's the best first baseman. I think these two players are going to be really, really at each other's necks.
So, in my next number 2 picks, I could say, for me personally, are interchangeable because both play exceptionally well at their position. My number 2 is Paul Goldschmidt, and another unbelievable career that a year that he had last year. Couldn't compare to anybody else at this position or even in the NL, and rightfully so deserving of that NL MVP. I mean, what more do you want to say? 35 home runs, 115 RBIs. He was batting over 300 the entire year. 180 OPS plus. Everything you asked for him, he did it. What a career! What a year that he had. The years before were still just as good, maybe a little less. He's still always batting around that 300 mark the past 3 years. Great game, great batter, and if he continues to improve, then nobody's going to stop him.
No, I mean that makes a lot of sense. So what's it called? My number 2, right? We're on number 2.
Yep.
All right, cool. Just wanted to confirm that. So my number 2 is actually going to be Paul Goldschmidt. I like this guy, great player, just came off an awesome MVP season. Look, here's my thing. I love Paul. He's a great player. He gets the job done. He's going to hit you 30 home runs. He's going to bat damn near 300. And he's going to get a ton of RBIs. I mean, he's in the middle of a great St. Louis lineup, with between him and Arenado. And now I guess Wilson Contreras, if you want to say that. But I really like this team. I think that they have a great team. I think Paul Goldschmidt, going into his age 35 season, This is the best version of Paul Goldschmidt we've ever seen, and I don't think it's going to get any better than it did last year. I really think that, we might see a little step back, but a little step back for a guy who hits so damn well is really not a huge drop-off. I think that he'll do just fine next year. He'll still be one of the top players in the entire league, probably one of the best hitters in the entire league, and there's not a doubt in my mind. Just can't be. So, that's all I got for my number 2.
Can't agree more. And then I'll move on to my number 1, who I can't ask a single thing more from whenever he plays for whatever team, and that is Freddie Freeman. His first baseman game is something I've never seen before. The consistency that he has in the box is second to none that I've watched. When you're able to bat 325 last year, and say that it was a down, if people say that it was a down year because you didn't hit enough home runs, only at 21, I don't know. I think that's inexcusable. He's an incredible player. If you're able to bat 300 and still be able to go near the 30s in home runs,
and hit that 100 RBI number, that's pretty impressive.
He was one hit away from having a total of 200 hits last year, something you don't see very often at all. The plate discipline that he has, his strikeout numbers keep going down and down. In his defensive work as well, as somebody that I you watch and is incredible. Everything that goes this way, he's like a vacuum. Freddie Freeman is somebody I come into every year and I know exactly what he's going to give me, a year in and year out. An MVP and deserving of it 2 years ago, and a possible MVP every year he steps into the field.
So, I'm not going to lie. I like your number 1 pick. He was my number 5, but I think we all know who my number 1 is going to be. Hometown favorite. He's a big boy. He's almost the 3-time in a row home run derby champion. It's my big boy Pete Alonso up in here. I love Pete, man. Pete's the energy. He's the lifeblood of the Mets. Hell, every time he walks in the field, he's energizing. Mm-hmm. No matter what he's going to play his freaking heart out. Is he the best defender? No. Has he been improving each year? Yes. Now, would I like to see Keith Hernandez get out of the box and go teach him a thing or two about how to field? Hell yeah, I would. Because, it's a disgrace that we have him sitting up there and he's not helping Pete. Granted, I don't know, but I would like to see it. So, I'm going to be honest with you. I really do like the fact that, Pete Alonso, he's a great power hitter. He's a freaking Iron Man. He's an Iron Man. He's only missed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... maybe 15 games in his entire 4-year career so far. I love this guy. I love Pete, man. Pete gives me the energy. He's going to bat somewhere around that 260, 270 range, and he's going to freaking murder the ball, man. In this really loaded Mets lineup, I don't have to worry. The one thing that as a Met fan we've had to worry a lot about is that, how do we protect Pete? How do we make sure that we're still scoring runs if Pete doesn't score all of our runs? And we really have that now. We don't have to rely on Pete to, just absolutely mash. But that's the good thing. Pete consistently mashes. So I'm very excited to see how he plays going forward. I think this is going to be the best year of his career coming up. And that's saying a lot because this guy, last year he had 40 home runs and 131 RBIs. That just doesn't happen. So I'm very excited to see him hopefully hit another 40 home run season. Something I think this guy is very capable of. And somewhere in the neighborhood of 115 RBIs, maybe more. So, I'm very excited for Pete Alonso. I expect him to keep excelling as he has over these last couple years. Hell, he even got 5 steals last year. Big boy Pete was moving on the base paths, baby. So, this is something I'm excited for. I like Pete's game. He finds somewhere to improve every year, and he gets a little better here, a little better there, a little better here, a little better there. I think this year we're going to see him really explode and take the league by full force, and people are going to know Pete Alonso is not to be messed with. In the rest of the New York Mets, well, they're led by freaking Pete Alonso's bat, baby, and I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Couldn't agree more.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. So, that's all of our first basemen here. That's the list. So, I got to say, first base is pretty exciting. Definitely a little bit more exciting than some of the other positions. So, over these next couple days, you'll see a couple more episodes come out. We'll keep going through the positions, between Adam and I. We're very excited to get this podcast off the ground and get it going. So, before we end it up here, Adam, you got anything you'd like to say to the folks at home?
Nope.
Hey, that's A-okay with me, man. That's A-okay. So, from us at the Idiots Podcast Studio, we really like to thank you guys for listening and coming out. We really appreciate it. Tell a friend, tell a family member. Hell, someone's got some free time and needs something to listen to, right? So, from us at the Idiots Podcast Studio, we'd like to thank you, and that's all from us today. I'll see you later.